Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm with my other co-host, Tony the Sugar Baggy Bird. How you doing, my man?
Doing good. Welcome, everybody, tonight.
Yep, sorry about the delay. I'm not going to lie, I woke up late. I took a nap, and I woke up late, but it's all good. 15 minutes late, not too bad.
Not bad.
But we are in for a packed show today. I've been looking forward to just talking movies, man. I've had a hell of a week, and I'm pretty sure you have too, Big Tone.
It's always the easiest thing to clear your head after a long week to talk some pretty good movies, and I think we got some good ones here tonight.
Yes, sir. We're going to be talking about movies that are fancy movies. Some of you may think are not fancy movies, and some that you're like, oh, yeah, I know that's a fancy movie. So we got some surprises coming towards you. But before we get into that, Tone, let's get into what we've been watching this week, my friend.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
So what were you watching this week, Tone?
Two movies new to streaming this week. The Accountant 2. We'll start there. The sequel to The Accountant, in which we covered on our Ben Affleck episode, which we both enjoyed. I was going into this movie a little hesitant. That's probably why I hadn't seen it yet. Shocked it was actually just thrown up on Amazon for free to watch. So I said, okay, I'll give this movie a chance, and I really had a good time on this one. It was more of a buddy action movie than it was like the first movie, which when hearing this in some of the reviews, I was a little hesitant because I didn't like that they were messing with what made the formula work so well with the first one. But if you remember in the first one, there was some pretty hilarious black comedy moments. They go a little bit more in that direction in this movie, where Bernthal is pretty funny and Affleck's got some pretty funny parts. But definitely worth checking out. I was surprised that it was as good as it was.
Yeah, I saw that actually today on Prime when I was doing some like stuff, looking at some stuff to just kind of clear my mind while I was working. I saw it was on there. I didn't watch it, of course, because I wouldn't have dedicated enough attention to it. So I'm looking forward to checking out The Accountant 2. I really enjoyed the first one, as we discussed, and hearing that you're saying it's pretty decent, I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if you're a fan of the first one, which I know you are, and I know you are a fan of the actors in this movie, it was a good palate cleanser. You know, it was something that I think that if they really hone home on it, they could have a little bit of their own little universe here with maybe a couple more sequels. But definitely worth watching if you, again, because it's got the same director, Gavin O'Connor, who is a great director. He's done some really good movies that I enjoy. We've talked about some of them before, like the one with Edward Norton and Colin Farrell when they're both police officers. What the hell was the movie off the top of my head? We've talked about it a lot. Now I'm going to come to it here in a second, but good director, a lot of different stuff. Check it out. The next movie that I watched was The Alto Knights. Just put up on HBO today, and it has De Niro playing multiple roles. honestly, I was going into this movie looking to make fun of it, thinking it was going to be awful. And honestly, the only thing bad about this movie is that De Niro should have just focused on playing one of the two roles and got somebody to play the other role. Not that it's bad that he's playing two roles. It just kind of takes away from him just doing one role, I think. They could have got somebody like a Pesci to do one of the other roles, maybe. Because the director is Barry Levinson, who's directed such great movies as Rain Man and your favorite, The Natural. But what's actually awesome about this movie is there's actually no de-aging techniques. It's actually all real prosthetics, which actually makes the movie a hell of a whole lot better, in my opinion, than The Irishman. But that's nor here nor there. I thought it was just a good movie to watch. It wasn't the greatest movie. It wasn't awful. It was just a good movie that I think, honestly, after all the bad talk of De Niro, it played in his wheelhouse because he was playing characters that were older. He wasn't playing somebody younger, trying to play somebody younger. Actually does a really good job. I try to think of which role he could have played better because he plays Frank Costello is one of the who is a famous mobster, and I think the other one was Vincent Gambino. I could be wrong, but they're really interesting takes on both characters.
That's interesting because I've heard that the film wasn't that bad. My brother actually saw it when it was in theaters. He actually saw it in theaters and told me it wasn't that bad. So I was looking forward to it. I haven't realized it was out. Just shows you how kind of locked away I've been this week. Just
it just
doing
came
my
out
thing.
today. So I mean,
Oh, okay.
All
right.
Just today it dropped on HBO Max. So
All right, cool. Also, you said Gavin O'Connor, he directed Pride and Glory.
That's the movie I was trying to think of. Yes,
that's what I'm thinking about. But going back to The Accountant too, I know they're gonna make a franchise probably out of this because they were talking about bringing Anna Kendrick back for future films. So I know.
Well, maybe they could leave her out because she was. I'm just kidding. She wasn't missed in the second movie, just from my perspective. But hopefully, if she is included, they get her a good role.
Yeah, but looking forward to seeing Awful Nights 2. My brother told me it was pretty decent. You're saying it wasn't that bad, so I mean, I'm good. I'm always in for a decent De Niro movie. He's getting up there in age, so we don't know how many more performances we're going to see out of him. I mean, he's almost, I think he's 79, so he's up there. So we can take what we can get right now. We know that he's money driven right now for roles, but hopefully he can land some good ones that
I mean,
goes out strong.
If they could have got someone else, like he didn't do both of these roles, like maybe they knock Righteous Kill Never Happened and Pacino joins him in this or something, it could have actually been a little bit better than it actually was. I think what made it not as good as it was watching. It's kind of like if you did a podcast but you recorded you talking to yourself. It just has that feel sometimes, as opposed to like a natural two actors acting. But besides that, I know you like mob movies, and it's written by the guy who wrote the Goodfellas book and the screenplay, Nicholas Pileggi. So you got him, and you got Barry Levinson, who's a great director. So you're saying to yourself, and De Niro, what could go wrong? So not too much. So check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I definitely will be checking them out when I have time. On my end, I actually went to go see the new Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. I know you had saw it, and we discussed it last week in our episode of the Mission Impossible series deep dive. I had told you that the Reckoning, Dead Reckoning Part 1 was probably like my favorite Mission Impossible behind the first one. And let me tell you, this movie is probably my least favorite. Not as bad as Mission Impossible 2, but it was what it was. It wasn't. I kind of get what you're saying when you're saying it was cliche city. I kind of felt that way. My wife enjoyed it. A lot of the action was pushed, I think, to unbelievable heights. Like, I didn't understand we're supposed to suspend belief in these stunts that Tom's doing, but some of it was just like, what? I felt like the movie was just moving constantly too fast, and you kind of forgot what the whole point of it was, the whole plot. Isai Morales, I thought, was very, very underutilized in this film. I did like the concept, and I think they kind of just tied everything up too quickly in a little bow. at the end, and also I didn't really like the ending of it. As as you and Adam know, I texted you guys about it. Was it horrible? No, definitely not horrible. But in terms of the franchise in Mission Impossible, I would probably rank it a little bit above the second one, in my opinion. Um, but I mean, I read all the articles after this. Tom is saying he's done, although they're saying they want to continue the franchise. Maybe they will with a new team. But yeah, it's just crazy that he's made over, I believe, what almost $4 billion with this franchise. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If not, if you haven't, if you're waiting, I would say wait until this one comes out in streaming to watch it. But if you're big on the movie theaters, go check it out. So Tone, give like a little bit more detail on what you thought about it.
I will stick by what I said in our last episode, that I wish maybe they either made part one its own thing and not a part one and a part two. Because I rewatched that movie actually twice since our last episode, which is crazy. I've like fallen asleep to it like 2 nights in a row and finished it the next day. It's a lot better than I've given it credit for. But I'll also say that when you're trying to stretch out the story into 2 movies, as stated, there's a lot in the second one where it's like, I gotta watch it again though. Again, I'm a big rewatcher of movies, so a lot of cool action in it. I've actually spent a lot of time since our episode watching a lot of pieces of these Mission Impossible movies, and I'm just really impressed with Tom Cruise. And I'll also stick with that. He can say he's done. He also said he'd never do a Top Gun, but we'll wait 8 years, 9 years, because Tom wants to make movies, he says, until, well, he's no longer breathing. So we'll see what comes up in his future, because, because you know what? I will go back on one thing in our comment, which was hilarious, that I said, because I thought about it. I said with him with long hair. And then all of a sudden today I got Last Samurai on, and he's got long hair. And then I got, I'm thinking of all, there's been a couple other movies during the week where he's had long hair. But that has really no bearing, I don't think, in part two. I think part two's just, I think, kind of as Adam said in his little thing, like a fun bad. It's not bad, like we couldn't sit and watch it. I just think it's not as quality put together as, let's say, Dead Reckoning was. But that being said, it's still, I think these movies are meant to be seen on the big screen, and I'm glad you and your wife got out to go see the movie.
Yeah, so it wasn't like it was a horrible time. It was just, I think, too much just going on. So I will probably rewatch it again. I mean, I enjoyed the films and the series in general. I'm a huge fan of like Tom Cruise and like his work. I just felt like this one, like I had high expectations. No, I'm not gonna lie, going into it, because I'm like, oh man, I really enjoyed that last one. But what can you do? And then, like you said, he probably will be back at some point. There were conflicting reports where he said he wasn't gonna come back, and then he was gonna come back and continue, and then finally, within the last 3 months, he said he's done.
But he's like, cool. I mean, there are a lot of good young actors that, if by chance he was to sanction it, they got other people to play these.
Yeah, his final statement I read was that he said it's called final for a reason. And Sam writes in, I agree, it was rushed and felt condensed while still having a long time run. Yeah, that's one thing, that it was very long, but it felt rushed, which it was kind of one of those weird movies that there was just so much going on, but it was still long. So it kind of contradicted the rushing. I wish they would just fleshed it out into, I think, to be honest with you, Tone, if they would have made the last 2 movies into a miniseries like on HBO, it would have been a lot better. And I think it would have been received a lot better in terms of watchability. But I know
what? Do it like what's that movie? It's also on The Brutalist.
Yeah,
just 4 hours, put an intermission into it. I mean, people are gonna see this stuff. It's Tom Cruise on the big screen.
Yeah, I know, but they're trying to get that money off the big screen. But I think that would have been better for it. But moving on, the second movie I watched is a movie I actually saw last year when it first came out in 2024, and that is Smile 2. Now, I'm a huge fan of the original Smile. I really liked the story. I thought it was something unique. I thought it was something that was new and a fresh idea. So I'm always there for the big fresh idea movies. Although it does follow some stereotypical horror stuff, but in a new way. I saw the second one in October with my mom. She's a huge fan of horror as well. And I thought, you know what? I haven't seen it in a little while. Let me see if I really liked it. And I put it on again. Now, compared to the first one, I still like the first original were better, which I mean, most of the time that's the way it's going to be. But I really enjoyed this film. I thought Naomi Scott was really good in it. I thought Lucas Cage played, the drugged out dude pretty really well. Uh, I thought the story was actually very interesting. It makes you think a lot more what's going on and what was real and what isn't in it. Uh, I do like the fact that there's a lot more people involved in terms of getting the smile. But again, the ending is what kind of threw me off with how they got to end that way and what's going to happen next and how they're going to go forward from that, which they are planning to make a Smile 3. So I want to see what Parker Finn's going to do. But it's an enjoyable movie. It's still creepy. Tone, you've seen Smile 2, right?
Yeah. I agree with everything that you stated. There isn't much more to add. Fun movie. As Sam states, I like Frown and Frown 2 a little bit more, but Smile 2 is that original's really good. I mean, in the last 10 years, I only think of a couple movies when I think of like really quality original horror movies. Smile's one of them, Barbarian's another one. But Smile 2 is a good sequel. It doesn't beat the first one, but again, it's like a band. It's ambitious. You know what I mean? The movie's more ambitious than the first movie is. It's going for more, but as you stated, is what's it all going to add up to? And it's kind of curious to see what Smile 3 is going to bring.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what the idea is. Because fleshing out through my own, thinking, it's kind of hard to wrap it all around, but I would like to be surprised and be happily surprised. So hoping Parker Finn and his writers get it correct. But that's what we watched this week. Let's know what you watched over at the Show Pod over on the social media site known as X or Twitter or whatever Elon decides to call it before it gets taken down by the U.S. government. Or you can let us know on Facebook. We have a Sadistic Penguin Studios page there, or let us know in the comments on our YouTube page. Tone, with that, we are going to go into our main event, as they say, for our fantasy films. We got a bunch of films to go through, and then we have a little list of the top 10 from Rotten Tomatoes I want to go through with you and see how many of the films that we've chosen are in the top 10, which I thought would be kind of cool. We are counting down to episode 100. I believe this is episode 98, Tone, if I'm not mistaken.
If you... okay, because I was going to talk to you about this before. If you count the mini episodes, this is episode 98. Yes. If you don't count the mini episodes, it's episode 94. So
Okay.
It's all up to you on what you want to.
Let's go episode 94 because I'd rather have like full episodes.
So 94th episode. So we're getting there, my man. We're so close.
Yeah, we'll past that and more this year. But in terms of fantasy films, like what to you is a fantasy film, Tone?
See, like there's different kinds. Like this is another deep conversation. There's different kinds of fantasy. Like there's fantasy in your head, like when you dream and you make believe. There's fantasy to me is like, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. To me, that's kind of like, dragons and stuff like that. That's a type of fantasy. I mean, it's a hard question for me because I asked you last week, Vanilla Sky. You're like, yeah, kind of. So, I mean, there's so much I think you can incorporate into it. How about yourself?
I think personally, if I really want to get technical, all films that aren't based off actual events are considered fantasy.
I like it.
But if we're going into the more generalized, I would say most people will assume fantasy is like wizards and witches and stuff like that. I don't personally agree with that because I think it's more broader. I think it's something that can be psychological. Sam says it's fantasy. It's taking the normal and making it abnormal by fucking it. Zach Brown, Zach and Mary And that is true, my friend. So that's my definition of it. That's why when we have these films come out, that we're going to be talking about, there's some films that are like, what you put on your list, and I was really surprised by them. It made me laugh. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm really, really looking forward to indulging and talking about these films, my guy.
Can't wait.
All right, let's get into our first one, my friend. 2008's The Forbidden Kingdom, directed by Rob Minkoff, who also directed the 1994 version of The Lion King. He also directed classics like Stuart Little 1 and Stuart Little 2. And Flypaper. This film stars Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Colin Chow, Michael Anagrano, and Yifei Liu. At a budget of $55 million and made $128 million at the box office. This is one of my picks. Of course, I had to go with a fighting film, which is a little more like kind of a corny backstory in it, where they're trying to return a staff to its owner, the Jade Army and the Monkey King. So a lot of Asian folklore in this film. But the real reason I chose this film, I really like it. I know I've done a review on it for our channel. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. Is because this is the first film that two icons in the martial arts and action films, especially Asian cinema, Jackie Chan and Jet Li actually star in. And I love the way they introduced them as terms of the credits, how they have Jackie and Jet Li. Basically, the J is for both of them, with their names both coming either across and vertical. I really love that. It's, to me, it has some of the best fighting scenes in it, especially the fight between them. Jackie Chan plays, of course, a hysterical character and throwback to his drunken monk or drunken master character from the 70s, and Jet Li plays actually a monk in the film, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But it plays to his his personality as being quiet and more letting his fist do the talking. Also, you have Colin Chow in this film, which is another just badass martial artist who, like we talked about with his fights with Donnie Yen, and he plays the villain in this film. Everything about it I liked. I love the fact that John Fusco worked on this, and those who don't know who John Fusco is, he actually wrote the Young Gun series as well as Thunderheart. He's a big proportion of Buddhism, and him and Jet Li kind of bonded over that while working together on several films. The only thing that is kind of like the throw off is the main character of Michael Anagrano. He's kind of annoying, but there's a lot of comedy that goes into him being kind of like put in his place by Jackie Chan and the Jet Li. What did you think about this film, Tom?
I had not seen it until I watched your little short that you put out, and I'm always down to watch some Jackie Chan, especially when he has cool hair like he does in this movie. Fun fantasy movie. It's cool to see, when I watch these movies, I often again think of like all the movies Jackie Chan and Jet Li have been in, not including, the American releases. And then to see them together in a movie like this, I just thought was really cool and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it totally is. And speaking of stunts, we talked about Tom Cruise doing his stunts. Jackie Chan's career is built off his own stunts. Police Story. I mean, American audience got kind of introduced to him in Rumble in the Bronx and then eventually through Rush Hour. But his stunts are ridiculous. Like, I mean, there's YouTube videos on his top 10 stunts. I remember watching Rumble in the Bronx where he runs and jumps from building to building, and like he broke his leg and still did, the boat stunts. He's ridiculous.
I could be wrong on my timing, but I'll always remember that was like 8th grade, and that was one that my dad took me to see, Rumble in the Bronx, because he read the newspaper article, like Ebert or somebody said it was awesome, and he had never heard of Jackie Chan before, and next thing you know is like loved the movie. And then at the end it was cool because you got to see all of him doing the stunts and stuff like that. But like I'll always remember that was my introduction to him, seeing him, and then now talking with you and you just sharing so many awesome Asian martial arts type movies. You could spend a lifetime digging into these movies, man.
Yeah, if I had more time, I would love to just do like martial art films pod, but I just don't have the time, which is why like the videos for the martial arts gems has kind of slowed down. I'm trying to get them revived. I have like a list of films I just want to talk about. Just have to find time to do them. But the crazy thing about this too is, Tone, is that you watched the Alto Knights where De Niro plays two roles. Well, Jackie Chan and Jet Li play 2 roles in this film.
Yes.
Jackie Chan plays the older Bop guy. His name is Bop, and he plays the drunken master. And Jet Li plays the monk as well as the Monkey King. So they're showing off their acting chops there.
There was, and I'm pretty sure when I was reading background on Alto Nights, that's what gave De Niro the inspiration. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know, man. He was trying to kick in that the Irishman, so maybe he saw these films and wanted to know if he could kick. But if you're in for like a mindless martial arts film that has great action, a story that progresses, and comedy with 2 great martial artists, actually 3 if you're calling Colin Chow, check this film out. It's beautifully shot. It's got a lot of old folklore in it, and although it does have some corny parts in it, it's still very, very enjoyable. I highly, highly recommend check out The Forbidden Kingdom. But with that tone, let's go into your film.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Then I shall get to hacking.
Wait.
Is this really all there is? Is this...
What else ought there be?
2021's The Green Knight, directed by David Lowery, who also directed Ghost Story, Pete's Dragon, The Old Man and the Gun. It stars Dave Patel, Alicia Vikander, Joel Edgerton, and Saria Chowdhury. Excuse me, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but if I'm putting your name in this show, you can count on me probably doing it. It had a budget of $15 million, a box office of $18 million. Now, Tone, I have totally forgot about this film. Like, I wasn't even thinking about it because Dev Patel, like Slumdog Millionaire, he was in, and then he kind of like did this. He's kind of does films, but they're not as marketed as much with him in it. But tell everybody like why you picked this film and like a little bit of the synopsis of it.
There's a coworker of mine, and he always stops me, and we just talk movies. And he stopped me. He's like, "You ever see The Green Knight?" Now, this isn't a movie that is in my wheelhouse, so to speak. I'm not a real into medieval movies very much. I'll watch them, but his description of this movie just sounded way out there to me. Very fantastical. I don't even know if that's a word, just fantasy. Just a huge fantasy of fun. But the actors in this movie are really kind of what drew me in. You have Joel Edgerton, Alicia Vikander, as you said, Solomon Lane himself, Sean Harris is in this playing King Arthur. But Dev Patel, really cool turn in this movie. His character in which he plays Sir Gawain. It's just a very interesting plot, which pretty much set with Dev needing to figure out courage and other different things to face the Green Knight, which there's just a lot of trippiness to this movie. A lot more than even when rewatching it that I forgot about.
Yeah, there is a lot of trippiness to this film. One thing I really like is the costumes you're showing a great picture of the Green Knight's head. When I was reading and doing research for this, now there's not a lot of little like trivia tidbits for this film. Everything I found was actually on our notes that I will post. But the cool thing is like everything about the Green Knight, which he looks awesome. It looks kind of weird though when he speaks, but it's all practical effects. And I'm a huge fan of practical effects. I'm a big fan of the Tom Savini School of Practical Events, which is a lot of blood and gore. But I love that how they did his makeup. I love actually how this film is shot. I love the cinematography that David Lowery and his direction and his crew. I really like the colors. I think they blend beautifully together. It's a very powerful film in terms of the way it's storytelling. I thought Dev Patel was awesome in it. I know he's in Monkey Man. I haven't seen that film yet, but when Dev Patel, to me, I think the last thing I saw him in was the hotel film, Last Budapest Hotel, I think it was called,
Mm-hmm.
which he was
Yeah.
great in. But you know, like he's not the household name for me anyway, and it's kind of cool to and refreshing to be introduced again to the films that he did before, and now like it makes me want to watch more of his work and look through his filmography. Uh, all the costumes in this film were 100% vegan. All wardrobe materials, including leather and alternatives, made from fungus and tree bark, reflect the film's strong naturalistic themes. So I'm guessing they smelled really, really good. With but like I said, I really love the story of it. Of course, this is the Green Knight. I guess is a fable, I would assume, or a
The
does it have
movie
like a lore?
the movie he
Mhm.
was in was called The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. I don't know if that's what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's what it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't
Um,
want you to get the people yell at us because you said the Wes Anderson one.
yeah, the best exotic marigold hotel.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's the movie too. No, but continue what were you saying?
I'm saying the story of the Green Knight. It's a fable or a folklore
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
origin. So I thought it was nicely done. I thought it was beautifully shot. I love the scenes in it, like one of the scenes you're showing here with the person's head on fire. I thought it was really, really pleasing to watch. Although it is a medieval times film, and some of those films drag, I felt this film didn't really drag. I thought the way it was sewn together, the way it was production and put out, kept me interested. I thought the scenery and everything kept me engaged in the film, even when there was slow talking. And not all medieval films do that, as we're gonna learn. Um, so when I saw this film, Tone, I was like, wow, I haven't seen this in this came out 2021 in 4 years since it first came out. And I totally forgot about it. So it's kind of one of those hidden gems, man.
It is, it kind of sneaks under the radar, and I like the way the movie ends.
Mhm.
When it all seems to be a vision, you know what I mean? Like the whole thing, because he stands there and off with his head at the end. But very cool, just story, and just came out of nowhere for me, honestly. This movie, I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, but when you do a lot of research into like people who have reviewed it, I mean, it all gets 4 out of 4, 5 out of 5. Ebert.com described as one of the most memorable films of the year. It just shows a lot of different things, about heroism, masculinity, a lot of different cool topics that all mass together to real well.
Yeah, it's got really high ratings. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth the watch just for the visuals alone. Great pick, Tone. Great
Thank you.
pick. For our next film, though, we usually have sound clips. Well, our next film is actually in a foreign language, so I'm not going to have a sound clip play for you because it's in a foreign language in Spanish. And for our non-Spanish speakers, I don't want to have to put that, not knowing what's going on. But if you are watching this on YouTube, which you should, if you have the time every Friday at 8:15 or 8:30, we go live. I have a video for this film, and I think this scene is actually really, really cool. 2006 Pan's Labyrinth, directed by Guillermo del Toro, who also did Hellboy 1 and 2, The Shape of Water, Nightmare Alley, The Devil's Backbone, Kronos, Mimic, and Blade 2. It stars Ivana Baquero, Ariana Gil, Sergi Lopez, Maribel Verdú, and Doug Jones. I love the fact that Doug Jones is like the last person to name after I went through all the Latino names. The movie had a budget of 19 million and a box office of 83 million. As you all know, I'm a huge fan of I'm sorry, I prefer Pot's Labyrinth. Sam. I'm a huge fan of Guillermo del Toro. I love his visual style. I've done reviews of Kronos and Devil's Backbone for my 31 Days of Horror series, our 31 Days of Horror series on the channel. I love Nightmare Alley, even though there were some mixed reviews about that. I just love his visual, the way I think he's a mastermind in terms of putting what he loves in terms of horror and fantasy and putting it out on the screen for you to watch. Mimic was like coming of age horror, something different that we didn't really think about. Like I love that aspect of it. And this film is probably his best work. I actually think I like this film better than The Shape of Water, and I thought The Shape of Water was very good. Doug Jones does not get enough credit as Guillermo del Toro's right-hand man for all the characters he plays. The man, doesn't have any real speaking roles. As we saw in this clip, he played the Pale Man. Uh, he was creepy in that role. He's done, Hellboy 1 and 2, where he played one of the side characters that basically he did all the motions for it. I don't think he spoke for the voices. I think David Hyde Pierce actually spoke for the character, but he did the physical motion of him. He's just excellent. Doesn't get enough credit. And he also was the moon guy from the McDonald's ads. Don't you remember Mac the Moon?
Mac the Knight.
Moon. Yeah, Mac the Knight. And the reason I found that out, and I'm about to go on a side, was I was listening to Astonishing Legends, and they did the Max Headroom deep dive, which of course happened at WGN in the 80s. And they were saying that one of the songs that he was singing was Mac the Knight. And they started talking about the Mac the Knight McDonald's ads, which Doug Jones was the character who played it. Now, for those who don't know or are a little young, there used to be a character that had a moon-shaped head, and he used to play on the piano, and it was like basically like to advertise McDonald's being open late tone, which is something that was pretty funny and corny. I remember as a kid, I remember they had toys for it, and eventually it was taken off because they were threatened to be sued by the people who created the Mac the Knight song. But Doug Jones got his, broke his teeth, as they say, in there doing that role. But just a great character actor. This film, I think, is really, really strong in terms of you don't really know what is real and what isn't. And I love that aspect of the film, especially the ending kind of leaves it up to the viewer to think about what really happened. This film is set in Franco era Spain. The stepfather is a complete piece of shit. So it shows that kind of in there, and it has so many great visual scenes as well as characters. I really, really just enjoy it. The fawn, it looks awesome. The toad, of course, the pale man is terrifying. The fairies are scary looking because Guillermo del Toro said they're not supposed to be good looking; they're supposed to be scary looking. But of course, this girl just, she believes whatever they say and goes towards it. It's just a masterpiece in my opinion. I really, really enjoyed it. Tone, what do you think about this film?
I was so excited to say something, and then of course I disappeared. Two things. Number one, always cool to mention that Doug Jones went to my alma mater, Ball State, which I thought was really cool. And number two, me and my buddy went on this blind date with his two girls. This other buddy of ours set us up, and he was pissed because I'll never forget that he said his looked like Mac tonight. And mine was hot, so like that was always, this was fine. But again, Mac, and ironically now putting together that Doug Jones, the guy who played Mac tonight, was actually at Ball State. It would have been great knowledge to throw that out there in the middle of him being pissed off. He actually went here, but the movie itself is a classic, as you stated. Known across film industry as, just great visually all around the board. I mean, I always think of when he has like, I'm always known to like eat food super, super hot. Like I don't wait for my food. So when I see him with the black fingers there and that thing, that reminds me like when I grab something and my fingers are really hot and stuff like that. But really awesome movie, man. I mean, I think we all know how great of a director Del Toro is. You know what I mean? I mean, Hellboy 1 and 2 are great movies just on their own, without including Mimic and some of those others that you mentioned that are so awesome. Again, I think this is another movie that if it isn't happen, I think this movie has been a great one to play in to let people know what he is capable of doing.
Yeah, it totally it just the Devil's Backbone and Chronos came out, as well as Mimic and Blade 2, and they kind of showed, Chronos especially showed his love for the horror genre. The Devil's Backbone as well, and then you see Mimic come out, and Blade 2 showed he can do action. This film kind of showcased his mind more and deeply of how he can view like fantasy or suspend reality And I think that kind of translates to his later film in Nightmare Alley, how he kind of shows that in that film for a more 1930s, 1920s look of the carnival, you know, atmosphere. And to be honest with you, like I would love if they brought back Carnival, the series from HBO. They finished on a cliffhanger, and they just had Guillermo del Toro just direct it. They did a one-off movie. That would be completely awesome to me. But you know, this film just has great visuals. I keep saying visuals, but I, you know, learning about this and looking into the trivia and like little tidbits of this film, Guillermo del Toro, he lost notes for his film in a taxi cab, and the driver actually returned them to him, inspiring him to finish this film. And in terms of if you ever watch a foreign film and you're a native speaker of the language or you know the language very well, and they do translations, sometimes the translations and subtitles are kind of off. This film has probably the best subtitles of any film I've ever seen, and that's because Del Toro wrote the subtitles himself after bad experiences with previous translations. Um, the Pale Man scene that we just showed, that's probably one that you know gets mimicked a lot or parodied, whether it be in comedy or even in you know, there's a game where you can hit one and he like runs after you the whole time. I forget what it's called, but he's supposed to chase you throughout certain places. But Stephen King squirmed during the Pale Man scene, and Del Toro said he called that better than winning an Oscar. So
Yeah.
it just shows you how much this man loves horror. It received a 22-minute applause at the Canine Festival. I love this film, and it was one of the few fantasy films ever nominated for a Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars. I thought it should have won, but you know we can go into that. But I love this film. If you haven't seen it, please get a chance to watch it. It's powerful. It's sad. You kind of go through the mix of emotions of fear, you know, happiness, and then you know it really makes you think about what's happening at the end. And all the characters are beautifully made. A lot of them are practical effects. Fawn, like you showed here, with the special effects. One of the special effects guys is really awesome to look at. And Doug, like I said, Doug Jones is just awesome as all the characters in his own way, and putting his love through the emotions. And you know, I think for film, when it comes to stuff like this, there should be there's been a lot of you know, push for an Oscar for the best stuntman or stuntwoman. You know, and I think for films like this, there should be Oscars for people who like play characters don't have any speaking lines. Like Doug Jones should be nominated, or I don't know if he was nominated for Gollum, but what's his name?
Andy Serkis?
Yeah, Andy Serkis. If he was nominated for Gollum, I can't remember. But
It should have been. I mean, that would have been.
But people who play those roles, and although they're not really, some of them don't have speaking lines, they put a lot of work into you know making that character come alive, and that's acting. I say that's even harder than acting regularly, because you can lose your words to basically show your emotion. This way, you're just showing emotion through physical actions. It's crazy. The Adventures of Baron, how do you say it? Munchausen by Terry Gilliam.
Munchausen.
Yeah, was trash in regards to box office take, but a great fantasy film. Oh, I gotta check that out, my friend. But that's Adam checking in, our guy Adam. But yeah, there's so much more I could say about this film. I could go on it for another 20 minutes, which I'm not going to, and bore you. But I really love this film. Please check it out. It's Del Toro, in my opinion, Del Toro's best film. It's the one that I like the most. But I mean, and I'm a huge Del Toro fan. I love all his movies, but this one I like, for some reason, I just really like. Be sure to check it out. But Tone, this next one you picked cracked me up, because I know why you asked me. Oh, so that could be a fantasy movie, and this one just cracked me up with this pick.
Hey, John. Great to see you. Sorry about the cunted reception.
This is my fiance, Maxine.
Oh, great to see you, Maxine. Sorry about the cunted reception.
1999's Being John Malkovich, directed by Spike Jonze, who did Her, Three Kings, and Where the Wild Things Are. He also did some music videos, most notably Island on the Sun for Weezer, which is the one I probably know him the most for. This film stars John Cusack, Cameron Diaz, Catherine Kenner, Ned Bellamy, and John Malkovich. The movie had a budget of $13 million and a box office of $23 million. Tell me about this film.
To me, why I picked it is the idea to be able to crawl into somebody's like head, like in the movie, like that's like fantasy, like 101. What else would you call like the movie? Like, you know what I mean? So like to me, the whole plot is based on this fantasy, and not only that, but you escape on like the side of the expressway somewhere, like you're just dropped out of the sky on the side of the expressway somewhere. Just really out there characters in this movie. I mean, you start with Cusack, okay? This isn't your Better Off Dead Cusack. This isn't really any Cusack that I'm familiar with, okay? You even take a movie like Identity. This Cusack isn't even close to that Cusack. Again, ridiculous long hair. I'm a big fan of always ridiculous long hair by actors who don't usually showcase that. And in this movie, just so many weird things going on at a lot of different times, which is exactly, I think, what Spike Jonze does really well in the directing chair. It did very well. I mean, to the point where it was nominated for Academy Awards, but that doesn't play into being a good fantasy movie. I think it's just like a lot of the times of seeing Malkovich like multiplied 100 times and stuff like that. It was just really fantastical. Again, that word again.
Well, it totally is fanciful, but the premise is ridiculous.
It is.
I love the way it's set up. The reason why they go into this floor that is basically half the size was because the owner's wife was a little person, and the reason
That little video that they show where it's like, hello, like it's just really,
he outed her. He basically made a half floor, and they walk around like it's like normal. They're like walking around, like I'm like, man, every time I watch this film, I'm like, Jesus, if they worked there for like 20 years, they're gonna be like hunchbacks. But John Malkovich is awesome. He's over the top. Of course, he's not playing himself. He just plays an exaggerated version of himself. I love the fact that Charlie Sheen appears in this film as his best friend. And then when when I was reading for a little research for this film, they actually had cast Kevin Bacon as in that role, and Malkovich is like, no, let me do. I want Charlie Sheen to be in this film. So shout out to John Malkovich for getting Charlie Sheen up in this film. But Catherine Kenner disliked her own character, calling her too bold and unlikable. I thought she was pretty hilarious. It's a black comedy, definitely a black comedy type film. I love the fact when Catherine Kenner trying to get John Malkovich to have sex with her on the table, and like you could tell somebody's in his head, and he's like, no. And he's like, shut the fuck up, you idiot. So he's basically like talking to himself while but he's talking to the person in his head, which I thought was hilarious. It's definitely out there. If you haven't seen it, I remember seeing this film when there used to be on cable. There used to be 3 movie channels. One of them was Showtime, one of them was HBO, and one of them was the movie channel, TMC. This film was always advertised when they would show like little breaks between the movies. Was this one being John Malkovich? The trailer will always play, and I was like, "What is this?" I always thought about this when I was younger, and then I saw it. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is like, it's ridiculous." This film's so crazy that John Cusack trained in puppeteering for this film. So there are puppets in this film. There was supposed to be a puppet rising of the grave of Harry S. Truman, which didn't make it, but it was originally in the script. It's completely out there, man. This is basically Forgetting Sarah Marshall without the breakup stuff, but with the puppets, like before it. I really enjoy this film. It cracked me up when you picked this, Tom, because I wouldn't have thought of it as a fantasy film like right away. But I mean, it's totally fancy, man. When I look at the picture of Cameron Diaz right there.
Well, I like went through like 7 lists of people just talking fantasy films, and I saw this one on there, and I was like, well, I guess kind of. We'll expand this list a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's a movie, it's a world that there's no other movie like this movie. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? And it's a world where it is completely fantasy. I mean, it's a different kind of fantasy. You know what I mean? It's more like in the Vanilla Sky realm.
Definitely. And it's kind of funny we go back to Tom Cruise because Spike Jonze was actually asked to rewrite the film as being Tom Cruise. And Malkovich, who initially refused the role, offering just to produce it, was saying, "Yeah, we should get Tom Cruise." Like, and then eventually, he was convinced to star in it. But imagine that film where you're Tom Cruise, but you gotta go through that Scientology shit. Jesus. But
that would be crazy.
yeah, definitely.
Now let me ask you a question before we move on. You said that Island in the Sun might be the video that you may be more familiar with. Would you say, are you familiar with the video Sabotage by the Beastie Boys?
Yes.
That one, I think, is that one. I mean, Island of the Sun's great. Buddy Holly too by Weezer. The whole way he was able to get like the them in that what was that, Happy Days?
Yeah, Happy Days, Arnold's.
Yeah. But then also the screenwriter Charlie Kaufman. I mean, Adaptation. That's another movie with Nicolas Cage. I mean, these movies are so close to the fantastical world that what can you it's cool to include them in these kind of countdowns.
Yeah, Adaptation, the film that Chris Cooper won Oscar for. Another great actor, Chris Cooper. Doesn't get talked about a lot. But yeah, Spike. I just for some reason, Island in the Sun always pops in my head, and you know what? It's probably because I remember I was interning at Gateway Computers my freshman year in high school that summer, and I had to go downtown because we worked out of a building right by the DePaul campus, and I went to Crow's Nest, which was a record store or CD shop. I don't think it exists anymore. It was on Jackson. I went in there and I bought the Green album when it first came out on CD, and I listened to that song. And I listened to Island in the Sun before I got overplayed on the radio. And that's another reason why I don't really listen to the radio, because they overplay songs to the point of nausea. But I remember seeing that, and I remember the video always stuck with me because it was a Latino wedding of a white guy marrying a Mexican bride, and it always cracked me up. But yeah, Spike Jonze has done great. The Sabotage is probably one of the best music videos for any genre. It's hilarious too, with them being the cops. Also has one of the best guitar riffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, guitar riff's awesome.
Yeah, but if you haven't seen Being John Malkovich and you want to see a film that's way out there but it's hilarious in its own like little way,
this
is it. Yeah, check out Being John Malkovich. And I love John Malkovich. I just love the fact he had free range to be a complete like weirdo, eccentric asshole. He is awesome in this film. John Cusack's great as well as Catherine Kenner and Cameron Diaz. But some people don't recognize Cameron Diaz, but when you find out it's her, you'll be like, what? Yeah, he's also in Three Kings. Yeah.
He's great also. And I always forget he's in The Wolf of Wall Street too.
Yep.
He's good.
Yeah, he is. But great pick, Tone. I cracked up when I saw that. But let's move on to our next one, my friend.
What's the matter, kid? I haven't seen a customer so depressed since the elephant sat on that farmer's wife. Depressed? See? The big guy likes it.
Big Fish, released in 2003, directed by Tim Burton, who did Edward Scissorhands, Sweeney Todd, The Demon of Fleet Street, Mars Attacks, Sleepy Hollow, Ed Wood, Batman Returns, Beetlejuice, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure are just some of his films. This film stars Ewan McGregor, Albert Finney, Billy Crudup, Jessica Lange, Alison Lohman, and Robert Gilliam. The movie had a budget of $70 million and a box office of $123 million. Now, this film is based off a novel called Big Fish, a novel of mythical proportions. And when we talk fantasy, and when I think about fantasy films, and I think about the stereotypical fantasy or things that just bring you to eye-pleasing attention, stuff that kind of changes the realm of reality, two people come to mind. And we already talked about one of them with Guillermo del Toro. The other is always going to be Tim Burton. Tim Burton's visual style, from whether it be Batman, Mars Attacks, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Sweeney Todd, those films always have a particular, whether it be a gothic style, a more darker tone, a more lighthearted tone with Mars Attacks, a black and white with Ed Wood, or more colorful tone like this film. He's great at making small, minor characters in fleshed out stories like this film. The Steve Buscemi's character in particular of Big Fish, he fleshed him out to have a whole bigger role than he did in the novel. Uh, he brings a lot of stuff to life, and having little side showings of like having little side pieces, actors like Danny DeVito in the film to go along with Ewan McGregor, along with what's her name? The girl, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I didn't have her in here as my the actress that played, and he's in all of his films. She's in Alice in Wonderland. I know who I'm talking about, right? So she was in Harry Potter as well.
Is it Helena Bonham Carter?
Yes, thank you. For some reason, her name escaped me. But having her in this film as well, playing multiple roles, I love everything about this film. I really, really like the story. Billy Crudup plays an asshole in this film, and it's because he's tired of his dad telling all these stories, and he wants him to grow up. And then you finally see that he kind of becomes his dad, and his stories live on even after he passes. I thought I love the way that the story kind of puts in like the whole volume of the plot kind of puts everything into perspective. Like some of it was true what he was saying. I mean, maybe not the way that he told his son, but a lot of it had a lot of truth to it, especially the characters he met in life. The giant, the circus, stuff like that. Him dying in the military. It's just beautifully performed. And Robert Gilliam as the doctor that was there to deliver Billy Crudup when he was a kid, and is there taking care of his dad when he's dying. They have such great conversation, and like kind of put like a bow on like the story of why his dad did what he did. I just like everything about this film. Tone, what'd you think about it?
A great movie. A lot of emotions. Especially if you're somebody who's looking for those connections too in your own life. You can sit there and look into this movie and find a lot of things that I remember seeing it in the movie theater and walking out and taking away quite a few things. I think it's definitely Tim Burton's probably most emotional movie. I think the one that taps into something a little bit deeper, which definitely also runs through the realm of fantasy, which is why it makes a great pick for tonight.
Yeah, and I think it's beautifully cast. I think Jessica Lange as the mother. You have Ewan McGregor as the main character. Albert Finney as his dad. Albert Finney as the older version of Ewan McGregor, which I thought was really, really done well. Just like even the side characters, Steve Buscemi, his character's hilarious. Deepak Chopra, the clown, and Danny DeVito as the werewolf and the ringmaster. It's just all that fancy stuff, and it's all thrown so well in together. Helen Bottom Carter as the woman with the eye patch, and then she becomes the girl that throws his shoes on the line, and it's typical Tim Burton where he just lets you spiral down into his world, and you're amazed at what you see, and it doesn't disappoint. Also, a pretty decent music soundtrack for this one too.
Yeah, definitely a really good music soundtrack for this one.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this one, I highly recommend you check it out. It was always playing on HBO. I don't know if it's on HBO Max. I actually own the DVD of this film, which is one of the few films I actually keep DVDs of now, because everything's becoming digital. But definitely check out Big Fish. It's a definitely underrated film. This next film, let Tom talk about it.
How dare you defy me! Brendan, you're unwell. You've been bewitched. Look at this. It's madness. Remember the code. The king is above the code. Have you forgotten everything I taught you? No one is above the code. Especially the king.
1996's Dragonheart, directed by Rob Cohen, who directed Stealth, one of Tony's favorites, Triple X, Daylight, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, Richard Roper's favorite, The Fast and the Furious, The Skulls and the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. The film stars Tony's favorite actor, Dennis Quaid, Sean Connery, Dina Meyer, Pete Postlethwaite, Brian Thompson, and Jason Isaacs. The film had a budget of $57 million and a box office of $115 million. Tell me why you picked this film.
Well, first off, I was really going back between this and Reign of Fire. So just to know where my mind was. And honestly, I wanted to tell you this was probably the longest list. I was like, do I go Reign of Fire? Do I go Dragonheart? Do I get rid of this? Do I put that? This was literally one of the hardest 5 because I don't know. Dragonheart is what I would call a ridiculous type of movie. It's not great by any stretch, but you know what? I remember when I seen it back in the summer of '96. At the very least, it was kind of fun, and it's kind of like one of the last movies too. I remember Sean Connery being like a part of, as far as like a blockbuster. You know what I mean? Like this is after The Rock. You know, so like what really do you have to lay your laurels on with Sean Connery? You know, after Dragonheart. But you know, my man Dennis Quaid, I mean, he delivers in this movie as a knight. I mean, come on, you can't tell me that's not believable. And honestly, the CGI for the time, now has it held up? Probably no. But for the time and Sean Connery's voice in this dragon, and honestly, David Thewlis puts on a performance of epic ridiculousness as the villain. So a lot goes into this movie, and I know you're a huge fan, so let's hear what you got to say.
Okay. First of all, just to give you like a little tidbit of when I saw this film, I was like 11 years old. I remember looking at the poster, and it's the poster with just like the dragon like in the sun, and then like him, like the character Dennis Quaid's character on a horse with like a spear in his hand. I'm actually looking at it right now, and it said on there, "You will believe." It's the tagline, and I'm even as a kid, I'm like, "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Like, you will believe what?
Talking dragons.
When I saw this film, I even as an 11-year-old, I'm like, man, I did not like this film. I rewatched it again, and it made me laugh that you picked this film because of Quaid. And I know why you picked this film, because you criticize Quaid the way he acts, and man, he did himself no favors in this film.
What are you talking about? He's great in this movie. You know what? Actually, I honestly think that Dennis Quaid is possibly, you know, you're really gonna hate me when I say this. You said you were throwing around this term last thing, actors of our generation. Just think about it. Think about Quaid. Just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't think too hard. But you can't tell me though. Okay, number one. Back to Sean Connery. That's really the focus on. That's all I have to keep saying, because it is Sir Sean Connery playing a dragon. Great? No. Now, would you take Reign of Fire over this movie?
Yeah, I think as bad as Reign of Fire was, I enjoyed it
so
better.
Tough. It was so tough. I was like, which one do I go? But I went this route. But yeah, I mean, no, it's a great no. But I felt like we needed some dragons in this tonight. I mean, what is fantasy without some dragons?
No, for real. The crazy thing is, this film has a pretty stacked cast. If you take out, Quaid, you got Sean Connery as a voice. You got Dina Meyer, who probably became more famous with the Starship Troopers film. But you got Pete Postlethwaite, who's an awesome actor. Brian Thompson, who's a very, very good actor. And Jason Isaacs plays a small role in this film. So you got some, meat of off the bone for acting. But like you said, the CGI hasn't held up. I thought it was hilarious that I read, when doing research, that over 200 photos of Sean Connery were used to make Draco resemble him, which is Draco is a dragon. And looking at the dragon right now, I don't really think he looks like Sean Connery at all.
No,
he looks like a dog. He kind of has like a dog face. But another thing that always was weird to me too was that in this film, the dragon doesn't breathe fire out of his mouth. He breathes it out of his nostrils. And I'm like, why does he do that? I couldn't believe Dennis Quaid as a knight. Jim Henson's Creature Shop originally built animatronics for Draco before CGI took over. I think that would have been cool if they would just did that. Robin Williams was offered the role of Bowen, but turned it down because he wanted to voice Draco. And then when I did research telling like stuff like this, like Pete Postlethwaite accidentally groped Dina Miner in a scene which was left in the film. Like, why would this be a trivia point? But for a film this bad, I mean, I guess it's gotta be in a trivia point. And man, it kind of sucks that Sean Connery selected this film. You know, it was like his first voice acting film. But if you look at his career, I mean, he's had some terrible films. I mean, his last film, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, was horrible. Even though I do watch that film. He did Highlander 2, which if you haven't seen that film, it's horrible. It's got to the point where fans have made their own spin-offs of it. The Zeistless cut. But yeah, this film was not great. I probably won't ever watch it again since I watched it this week for this review. but I can't believe this movie made double its budget.
That is ridiculous.
So I know why you picked this film. Jesus, if you haven't seen this film, you know what? I know Tony did. Says it was just a film that was he watched. But if you really enjoy this film, I would love you to come on. So write us and let me know.
Please.
You should be on a defensive and just tell me why you like this film. And be truthful. Don't just do it for a bit. I really want to know people who really enjoy this film.
A bit? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Anyone who's a fan of Dennis Quaid, it's no bit.
Dude, you can't hate on Dennis Quaid. He was at Any Given Sunday as the quarterback, bro.
He was great in that movie. When he gets taken out, he's crying on this. Let me back in.
What about his greatest movie, The Parent Trap, bro?
Oh, or what about The Rookie?
I like The Rookie because it has St. Rita in it.
It's a good movie. I mean, he's got some movies. I mean, I'm not here to slant. Honestly, I mean, I'd take him over his brother, even though I like his brother's movies in better movies. Randy isn't a good actor by any means. At least Dennis can act. Enemy Mine's awesome with like Louis Gossett Jr. Like there's some stuff there where he can do some good stuff. Jaws 3D. Come on.
Isn't there? So there's nothing to it, Dennis Quaid. Isn't there a video out there where he's like going off on a production assistant and it's kind of like staged, kind of like the Michael Cera one, and it's all because of Christian Bale going off on that guy during Terminator?
It could be. If you haven't watched, just watch him in his turn as Reagan this year. I talked about.
Oh God. He was in Wyatt Earp, the Kevin Costner version.
He wasn't bad.
As Doc Holliday. Him against our guy Val Kilmer. It's no contest. Kilmer destroys him. But I mean, he's in he's Great Balls of Fire.
Oh yeah, Great Balls of Fire. What?
I liked him in Frequency. I know you didn't like that film. I liked it. I don't know. I'm looking
really,
at his
honestly, if you ever get a chance, I know you don't like him at all, but I want you to watch this movie. Gang Related. James Belushi.
Actually, it's a very good film.
And Dennis Quaid. It's pretty good.
I don't think, but see, it's kind of different with John Belushi. Jim Belushi. It's kind of different with Jim Belushi with me. Like, I don't like him, but I'll watch his stuff as he's in. Like, I might not enjoy it. Okay. Same thing with like Will Smith. I'm not a huge fan of Will Smith, but I'll watch the stuff he's in. To see what I just think the nepotism for Jim Belushi's there. And I you know what? I know too many people who have known him personally that tell me a lot of bad things about him. I think that's kind of like clouded my feelings of Jim Belushi.
But the only thing I will say about the nepotism part was that it's kind of like Jim was actually doing stuff the same time John was. It just wasn't successful. Like, is nepotism something that like because John became successful. I
don't. Well, and
Jim's
that's
done. Honestly, I will stick up enough for Jim to say that he's done enough quality stuff on his own that
yeah, but
he's got his own career.
I think a lot of it goes towards. I think
it's not like Don Swayze, Patrick's brother, or Frank Stallone.
Well, Frank Stallone was a singer, though.
Yeah, but like K-9 with Jim Belushi, he could have just made K-9, and I would think like that movie was kind of successful. And you know what?
Turner Hooch.
Turner, whatever. Okay, let's keep going.
No, I think like I said, my judgment is clouded, or my perception of it is clouded because of the stories I've heard. But
yeah, that's fair.
And also, you know, you never would have known. Like, if John had lived, would Jim be as big as he was?
Well, one thing I do know, and because I've read John's biography, is he was a big proponent for Jim in his career. Like Jim, like before John was even on Saturday Night Live, Jim already had a child. So like Jim wasn't like some young kid living in his parents' basement. Like Jim was already like an adult with a child who tried to help John at this point. Like it wasn't like Jim was just like, well, who am I trying to think of? Like an actor who came along. Like it's not like Dave Grohl with Foo Fighters. Like he just like came along after the fact of Nirvana just to be like, yeah, like Jim that was a bad comparison. Don't erase that out of this whole. I've never said that before, but just take that all out right there. Should we move on to the next movie?
Yeah,
my love for Dennis. You see what you did? You made me talk about my love of Dennis Quaid, and now I'm all shook up like Great Balls of Fire.
Oh my god! Winona Ryder's in that film too, which is ridiculous.
I've never actually seen that movie.
It's very bad. It's not good. I remember watching it and I was like, all right, what the hell's going on here? It's very bad. Yeah, we can move on, but don't watch Dragonheart unless you're really into bad fantasy films.
Oh, don't say that. Sean Connery, it's worth it. Dennis Quaid, it's worth it. Duelist is worth it.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch this than Forbidden Kingdom. All right, let's go on. Let's keep going.
All right, let's go to the next film. Oh my god.
Andy! You goonie!
I keep saying that around the house.
You have won. What is light without dark? What are you without me? I am a part of you all. You can never defeat me. We are brothers. Eternal.
1985's Legend, directed by Ridley Scott, who also did The Martian, The Last Duel, House of Gucci, Alien Covenant, Alien, Prometheus, American Gangsters, Matchstick Men, Black Hawk Down, Gladiator 1 and 2, not the classic Gladiator 1992, and Black Rain. The film stars Tom Cruise, Mia Sara, Tim Curry, David Bennett, Alec Payton, and Billy Barty. It had a budget of $24 million and only made $16 million at the box office. So this is one of the films that that Tom Cruise is in that didn't make a lot at the box office, but this is considered a cult classic. This film, I remember being introduced to it by my mom. One thing that always stood out to me was Tim Curry as Darkness. He plays the devil. In my opinion, the best looking devil in any film I've ever watched. I don't know if you've seen any other ones that look better. Tim Curry is such a national treasure in terms of character actors, from Pennywise to this film to playing comedic characters like in Home Alone or even in the movie Congo, or in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He is just phenomenal. He engulfs whatever he is, makeup in and as the character he plays, and he does an excellent job in this film. I love the fantasy aspect of it. You got your fairies, your unicorns. You got the basically like a rendition of hell. You have monsters like Meg Megalobones. You got your little elves that they say in the film. It's just it's pig monsters and God, what else? It's all there, man. You got Tom Cruise running around in basically a tunic. Running around and hopping around and fights the devil, and they save a unicorn. It actually has a decent story. You got Mia Sara looking, Mia Sara-ish, I guess, who actually came out after 15 years of being in the spotlight. Not being in the spotlight, actually came onto a red carpet viewing recently. Most of you might know her from Ferris Bueller's Day Off as Simone. Sloane Peterson. I'm sorry, Sloane Peterson. But I love this film. I love the story of it. I love the visuals of it. Tim Curry can talk me into a movie just to watch him alone. The visual effects are awesome, especially when they show the nighttime and you see the devil's eyes glowing with his fingernails glowing. It's creepy. It's an early Tom Cruise film where he doesn't really have that many lines, which is pretty strange knowing that, if you're used to Tom Cruise talking all the time. One thing I did find interesting is that he wasn't happy with the American cut, so he preferred director's cut, and I highly recommend you watch director's cut because there's a lot more footage added in there. But just the way this film is made is great. And the European cut, the darkness face is hidden until like an hour into the film, which I thought was pretty awesome. Fantasy galore, but it's just one of those films that doesn't get talked about enough that it became a cult classic. What do you think about it, Tom?
I'm ashamed to say that I've never seen this movie, and
Oh,
you're actually selling me pretty well. Like, I'm trying to sketch out some time tomorrow. I'm trying to see where I could spit it in and watch, because I love everything that you've said. I love Tim Curry. I love the devil. I love the pictures. I've always loved the box. I don't like the devil. The devil in this movie is what I meant. But that being said, I really want to watch it now.
yeah, I think the beginning, like when you watch the beginning of it, it draws you in because there's a little I didn't put the monologue in there for Tim Curry. I put his ending monologue, but the beginning of his monologue he has with Alec Payton, who plays Blix the Goblin, is awesome. And like it's just it kind of freaks you out, like how he taught, like what he's talking about, but it's just so great. Like Tim Curry's character, like acting is just so awesome. It draws you in, and visually it looks cool. Yeah, I think you could watch that on Amazon Prime. I think it's like $6 to buy. I don't know if it's director's cut though, but it's like $6. I have it on. There's another film I have on DVD that with the cool little box. That's a cool little watch. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen this one, definitely check it out. I love the Billy Barty character he plays, as well as the other dwarven elves. I think they're elves in this film. Fairies. They're fairies and pixies. Because Meg Maglabones bites one of them and she says foul tasting fairy. But Billy Barty, the screwball is pretty hilarious. But just awesome film. A lot of there's some comedy in there and stuff like that that I enjoy, and I still watch this film today. I grew up on it, and I highly recommend you watch it. Tom. So let me know if you do watch it. Let me know what you think of it.
I will definitely.
But moving on to another great Tony pick.
When they started downsizing, I was the first to go. Oh, you jerk, you already knew.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Why?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me? Why are you letting me, like...
Well, I don't know. I didn't want you to think I was creepy, like I'm some sort of stalker.
Oh, well, it's too late for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colosso, directed by Nacho Vigalondo, who also did other films, excuse me, such as he wrote for Extraterrestrial, Time Crimes, and Daniela Forever. He's done 32 films, and it's a person that I haven't really heard a lot about, like his name. I know he did VHS. Carlotta is another film he did, and like shorts like Domingo. But this is a really, really great film he does, with starring Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis, Austin Stowell, Tim Blake Stevens, and Dan Stevens. The film had a box office of $4 million and a budget of $15 million. Tell everybody why you picked this one.
Really cool, interesting story about a girl who unwillingly manifests a giant creature in another country, while she is struggling with some personal issues. The monster in the other country seems to be mimicking her, which is just a very interesting storyline, especially considering Anne Hathaway isn't usually in a movie like this up until this point. At least I hadn't seen her in one, and I think she just did a really, really great job. Definitely, if you are a fan of kaiju movies like Pacific Rim or Godzilla or anything like that, this is definitely a fun comedy side of that.
Yeah, it totally is. It's got one of those strange, the plot you just explained is basically what it is. It's totally kaiju, to the point where Toho filed a lawsuit against the film for unauthorized use of Godzilla image in fundraising efforts. It's the story is just weird. I love when she does the apology of the monster and like the people on TV are watching, and there's like a guy at the bar. He's like, "The monster's good." Always cracks me up when I see that. But it's definitely out there. It's comedic. It's a strange story where like, man, like who thinks of this stuff? But I'm surprised it gets talked about more. I remember the box, like the poster for it, which is what you shown of the it's kind of like in like I would say like graphic art. I would say
Yeah.
It has her Anne Hathaway and the monster graphic art, and it's one of those films that doesn't get talked about enough.
It's a little heartbreaking because I mean the movie really only cost $15 million to make. So you're saying to yourself, just based on concept alone and people liking these type of movies, that should have been easy to clear. And again, it's another movie that it didn't even make $5 million. You know what I mean? Like, so like sometimes, something cool like this can just kind of like sneak like under the radar as being something which honestly a friend passed it along. It was honestly, he had like one of those, it was like 5 years ago, he had like the original, like one of the AMC stub cards where like they let you go to any movie if you paid the thing. And he would just be like, after he put the kids to bed, his wife was just like, you can go see any movies. And he'd report back to me. He'd see a lot more movies than me. And he'd be like, colossal. This was a good one to that he saw, which always good to share, especially in the fantasy realm. And Jason Sudeikis always does a good job.
It's kind of funny you say that because my brother is that guy for me now. He has a movie pass and he goes every weekend and tells me about the movies he's seen.
It makes it easier.
Yeah.
Like currently I got a guy who does that with concerts. Like he's at a concert tonight and he like sends me every week all the videos, and I'm just like and I'm like, you lucky bastard. But that's time is tough.
Yeah, definitely time is tough. And we haven't sold you on this film, it's one of those films that like there's only so much I can talk about without giving away the kind of plot. Tony gave like a great synopsis of saying she controls a monster, and you have to figure out why and like what's going on in her life. But one thing about Jason Sudeikis is that everybody remembers him from, of course, what do you call the soccer show? What's it called, Tone?
Geez.
Oh my God. Ted Lasso, yeah. I don't know him. Like when I see him, I don't think of him from that movie. I always think of him from The Rocker as their manager of the band ADD.
That movie's great.
Yeah, he always cracks me up in that role. Hilarious.
And then We're the Millers. I love that movie.
Yeah, We Are the Millers. He's also in Eastbound and Down.
Oh, he's great in that.
Yeah, which he's hilarious. He's also in Semi Pro. He's the guy with the nachos. The one he's like, where'd you get those nachos from? He's like, oh, I got them from home. No, you gotta bring those.
I thought this was interesting. Anne Hathaway stated that she found herself attracted to the genre hopping nature of the script, later comparing it to Being John Malkovich, one of her favorite films.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
pretty crazy.
That's pretty funny. So I guess she got some inspiration there.
Yeah.
And she signed on even before the film had financial backing, which shows how much she was into the film. If you haven't seen this film, I highly recommend you check it out. It's worth it. It's one of those films we don't talk about a lot. That's not mentioned a lot, and it's a film that deserves a little bit more publicity and recognition. Definitely, like I said, a director that's not really well known. And I think is this by Neon? Did Neon produce this film? Or released to studios?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, and they're coming out. I mean, their film studios just won an Oscar for their or was it A24? But they did. Neon did Long Legs. They released that film. So this is one of their earlier production films. Check it out and let us know what you think. We're down to the final two, Tone. Down to the final two here. Let's go into the next one. Ooh, that might not have the sting from it.
Well, I was gonna almost try to do Roger Rabbit. I didn't want to mess it up.
Remember me, Eddie? When I killed your brother. That was the line. Actually, I was gonna play. I must have didn't move it over. But 1988's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, directed by Robert Zemeckis, who did Back to the Future in 1, 2, and 3, Flight, Forrest Gump, Contact, Here, and Death Becomes Her. The film stars Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, Joanna Cassidy, Charles Fleischer, or is it Fleischer? Can't remember. Stubby Kane, which I always thought is a hilarious name, and Alan Tilburn. The movie had a budget of $70 million and a box office of $329 million. Probably one of my favorite films growing up. It made me fall in love with the actor Bob Hoskins as the great Eddie Valiant. This is a film that blends both the child audience and adult audiences into one, showing characters that were both from our youth, and it's kind of a film that both the parent and child can watch together and both enjoy. It has both humor on both sides, also adult themes that kind of go over kids' heads that I realized that I was older. You have Jessica Rabbit, who is probably every teenage boy's adolescent dream when they saw this film. And then, of course, Roger Rabbit, who is, I guess, a knockoff of Bugs Bunny. I don't even know if Roger Rabbit was a real cartoon character since they put him in here. But you have all the famous characters of Daffy Duck. You got Donald Duck in this film. And Disney only loaned them to be able to be seen in this film. So the only time that those characters are seen, along with Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny, they had to have equal time. So that's why they're both on screen during the dueling piano scene. And then you have Bugs and Mickey in the when they're on the parachute scene, which I thought was pretty crazy. You got Baby Herman in this film. You got Froghorn Leghorn, the taxi cab that talks, the bullets that talk. One thing that always stuck out to me is how underrated Bob Hoskins is as an actor. If you had told me 20 years ago that Bob Hoskins was English, I would have never believed you. The man was in this film. He did the Brooklyn accent better than anybody I know that wasn't from Brooklyn. And he also did The Mario Brothers, which is a horrible movie, but he was the Mario I grew up with in terms, besides Captain Lou Albano from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. But this film, to me, like engulfs everything. It's my favorite Robert Zemeckis film. I put this film over all his films he's done. Everybody says Back to the Future is probably like their favorites, along with Forrest Gump and Flight, which is another great film. But this film always sticks out to me. I love that Bob Hoskins had to act basically with things that weren't there, even though Charles Fleischer, who is a comedian, dressed up as Roger Rabbit on the sidelines, Tone, to help actors visualize him. Can you imagine that? A grown man wearing that. Christopher Lloyd as Judge June was creepy. You have the whole like Toonland and Toontown and mixed in with 1940s, I guess, California they're in. And it's just, it blends so well together. You also have I always thought it was funny that they make fun of the freeways and how they would never work, and we have them all over now. Tone, what do you think about this film?
Back to Bob Hoskins. He is incredible. Throw out some awesome Bob Hoskins here really quick. He plays the manager in Pink Floyd The Wall movie, which I often forget that he was in that. You're looking for something with a little heart. He actually does a really good job acting opposite Cher in Mermaids, which is not what you think Bob Hoskins would be in. And honestly, in the very last seasons of Tales from the Crypt, they took it overseas to Britain, and he stars in the very first episode of that season, which, again, I think, brings the best out of this movie. Because, like yourself, honestly, I probably watched this movie like 100 times in those first couple of years when it was released. And it still holds up. You know what I mean? Like, that's what makes Zemeckis a good director, is unlike Rob Cohen, his Dragon didn't held the test of time, where you could even say, like, look at the DeLorean when it's like in the sky and the Back to the Future movies. It still looks good. Zemeckis is just such a great director, so great that I had no plan of the next movie, which is also his. I swear, until right now, I'm like, shit. I didn't even realize we had back-to-back. We do that a lot, but that shows you the type of director he is that you can see a movie like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then when we talk about like Flight, you wouldn't think those are the same two director, but he's got a great imagination and a great, fantasy type of, directing style.
So there's a couple things I want to talk to you about, but before going to one of the points I want to make, Tim Curry auditioned for the role of Judge Doom, but was considered too terrifying, which I thought was hilarious. And speaking of Bob Hoskins, so there's a story that Bob Hoskins, I believe, told on the Tonight Show, or was the Tonight Show or the David Letterman show? I believe it was David Letterman. And for those who don't know, Bob Hoskins was actually cast as Al Capone in The Untouchables. And Brian De Palma came to him and told him, "Hey, Bob, I'm trying to get Robert De Niro, I'm letting you know this, for the role of Al Capone. But, he's kind of playing a hardball right now, and I want to offer you the role. But if he accepts, I might go with him." And Bob Hoskins like, "Okay, no problem." So he said he was reading the paper one day in his kitchen table with his wife during breakfast, and he said that De Niro was going to play Al Capone. She's like, "Oh, I lost out on that role," And he said maybe a few weeks later, his wife was getting the mail, and she's like, "Hey, you got a letter from the studio." And he's like, "What?" He opened it up, and it was a $200,000 check from the studio that was given to him because he was cast and then let go from playing Al Capone. And he told the joke that he called Brian De Palma right away and said, "Hey, are there any other movies that Bob De Niro is going to turn down or going to, and then I could take over and then he'll accept? Just let me know because I'm all down for these checks." Well, the funny thing is, when he got released from The Untouchables, he actually got this role, which is kind of just a twist of fate, which I thought was awesome. I don't see anybody that can play, his character of Eddie Valiant as good as he did. I know Bill Murray missed the role of Eddie Valiant due to miscommunication and regrets it, but I don't think Bill Murray could have played Eddie Valiant the way Bob did. And I love Bill Murray. One thing I want to say though about Robert Zemeckis, so he is a great director. Would you say his mentor is Steven Spielberg? And they call Zemeckis his whiz kid. Like, would you say that he's probably like one of the best mentee directors, probably in film history?
Yeah. I mean, besides, like, from what I hear, the stories of like Coppola kind of like mentoring like Scorsese and Spielberg, like those guys, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's always cool to get a little bit of help from someone. So in this regard, definitely a lot bit more. What about Tobe Hooper and Steven Spielberg? What about their working relationship?
I mean, Spielberg did direct Poltergeist.
He sure did.
I wonder if that guy still exists on Twitter.
Probably.
But if you haven't seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Where Have You Been Living? It's one of the best, if not the best, animated real life interactions ever. It's been trying to be often what they say, imitated, never duplicated to the degree. And when I was doing research, there's a Who Framed Roger Rabbit Part 2, and I'm like, how the hell are you gonna frame him twice? But it's in production hell, and I don't know how you go on from this unless you're having Dolores and Eddie's kid play in the film. I guess I don't know.
No,
I don't want them to make. Please don't make a another one. And with Zemeckis' record of he's saying that there's never going to be another Back to the Future film because he owns the rights. I hope he does the same for this film. Like, don't continue this. It was, yeah, let it go. One of my favorite films, like I said, one of my favorite films, probably it is my favorite Zemeckis film, and I know he's done a lot of great films, but this is my favorite one from him. And the one you picked next is actually my second favorite film by Zemeckis, and I have sound for that one.
You plotter, co-conspirator. She's dead! She is. These are the moments that make life worth living.
My God, man, that was horrible. It was brutal. It was stupid. The police, man, the police.
Oh, what are they gonna do? Put me in the gas chamber? Big
Well,
deal.
what about life in prison? You know what that means to a person in your condition?
Oh, you're so negative. Can't you for once just let me enjoy the moment?
What about the neighbors? You don't think they heard that gunshot?
Neighbors? In 12 years in Los Angeles, have you ever seen a neighbor?
Death Becomes Her, released in 1992, directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, Isabella Rossellini, Ian Ogilvy, and Adam Stork. Movie had a budget of $55 million and made $149 million at the box office. Tell me why you picked this one.
A fun movie. The actresses do a great job. Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn are great. As you could hear in that clip, Bruce Willis definitely hams it up in this role. He's hilarious. I think it's cool because it's like the last movie he does before Forrest Gump. So it just seems like they were just having a lot of fun making this movie. And this is also the movie he makes after Back to the Future. So it's kind of like a palate cleanser before his next huge project and wrapping up his last project. The visual effects are incredible. I remember seeing the trailer when the movie first came out. I mean, it just looked very cool. The way her head was twisting. A cool cult classic.
It totally is. It's a film that doesn't get talked about a lot. I enjoyed it the first time I watched it, and I enjoyed it again rewatching it multiple times. Not just particularly for this show, but I rewatched it every once in a while. It's when we were talking about great actors and Meryl Streep, I brought up Meryl Streep, phenomenal actress and actor. One thing I did notice though when I rewatched this is, man, looking at her now, she's aged a little bit, but she still pretty much looks the same.
Yeah.
Just a little older. She's aged pretty well, and I think she's up there now in age. This film won an Oscar, beating out Batman's Returns and Alien 3 for best visual effects. Bruce Willis hams it up, like you said, and I think he does a great job as like the kind of over nervous Ernest character. You have Tracy Ullman in this film. Elizabeth Rossellini was in this film. She only was in this film for 12 minutes, and I guess she made a huge impression with the way she acted in the film. One crazy thing, Tone, is that you said Back to the Future. He did this after Back to the Future. Well, Helen drinks the potion that turns her immortal on October 26, 1985, the same date Marty McFly travels to in Back to the Future.
Cool.
But yeah, it's great visual effects, great comedy. I love Goldie Hawn movies. I'm a sucker for Goldie Hawn because one, she's married to Jack Burton, well, she's not married to him, but she's with Jack Burton. And two, I just like Goldie Hawn. This film and the other one where she did with Steve Martin, I think it was House Guest.
Yeah.
Was it House Guest or is that's a Sinbad movie too, House Guest? But the one she did a film with Steve Martin where she plays a con woman.
I think that's what it was. Hold on a second here. I know there's one with I got the poster in my head with them too, with Steve Martin and her in it.
House Sitter.
House Sitter. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. But definitely think she's awesome. And she was actually at the Oscars this year, and she still looks amazing for another woman. But yeah, it's hilarious. Bruce Willis, I think, steals the show with just him being earnest, and he cracks me up. But there's such great chemistry between all the cast that keeps you drawn in. The visual effects still hold up today too. And this movie was made in 92, and the visual effects hold up 33 years later. And I really, really like that. A lot of it's practical, which I think is awesome. I'm always a big fan of the practical effects, and this film shows no shortage of it. Whether, like you said, her head being turned to the side or a bullet blown through Goldie Hawn's stomach, stuff like that is just pretty crazy. And I really love the whole aspect and story, of the film. It's kind of like The Substance before The Substance, but a funnier version of The Substance.
That's true.
So take that, The Substance. Demi Moore, you should have been in this film. But your husband was at the time was. So maybe that's where she got her idea to be in The Substance. You never know.
Could be.
So we went back to back with Zemeckis films, which I thought was great. So those are our 10 best fantasy films, my man. I really enjoyed going through them, but I have a list of the 84 best fantasy films of all time, according to the Rotten Tomatoes. And now, if you don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is, it's a site that judges both the fans' perspective and the critics' perspective of films. Tone. And I'm going to give you, let's go with the top 20 here. For number 20, it's Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That was a 91%. 19 is The Thief of Baghdad, a 1924 film that has 97%. Enchanted, the 2007 film, was number 18. Your favorite film, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, with number 17 with a 92%. Who Framed Roger Rabbit comes in at 16 for 1998 film, 96%. So we got one out of the other 10 in there. Mary Poppins comes in at number 15 for 97%. Mary Poppins Returns in 2018 comes in with 79%. I don't agree with that one, but Pete's Dragon comes in at number 13. It's directed by David Lowery with 88%. The Thief of Baghdad comes in at number 12 with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yugitsu comes in at 100%. That's a 1953 foreign film at number 11. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is in our top 10 at number 10 with 94%. The Two Towers is at number 9 with 95%. Now, I disagree with that. I think The Return of the King is probably the best one of the films, but I could be wrong. I mean, it's just subjective. Number 8 is The Princess Bride with 96%, a 1987 film. Number 7 is The Green Knight, Tone. You got one in the top 10 at 89%. Pan's Labyrinth comes in at number 6. So we got two top 10 picks there with 95%. Beauty and the Beast 1946. I didn't even know this damn film existed until I read this list. It comes in at number 5. A Monster Calls comes in at number 4 at 86%. It's a 2016 film. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 comes in at 96%, a 2011 film. The Jungle Book 2016 comes in at number 2 at 94%. And The Wizard of Oz comes in at number 1 at 98%. Now, do you agree with this list, Tone?
I'll disagree with all of it, probably besides the ones we picked, of course. And you know what? I could say that Wizard of Oz could be number 1. Like, I wouldn't pick it as my number 1, but I can see it as a list of it being a number 1. But besides that, no, I don't agree with a lot of these movies at all.
I think it's a lot of recency bias for the Harry Potter films and Lord of the Ring films. And see, do I think Lord of the Rings is a bad film? No, I don't think they're bad films. I enjoyed them when I watched them. I liked the story, but will I rewatch them again? No, their rewatchability to me is not really on my top priority because I think they're just too long. And they kind of wore me out to where I never seen the Hobbit films, and I heard they're great as well. And so I think Peter Jackson's a great director. I loved King Kong, but I've only seen King Kong maybe twice, and that's due to the length. I think it's just his films are great, but he takes very long to tell his story, and it kind of like wears you out a little bit. And I know Lord of the Rings is based off a book. I know The Hobbit's based off a book, but it's not the kind of fantasy I'm into. I was really surprised that Willy Wonka wasn't in the top 20. It's not number 31. The Witches, which is a great English film, is number 30. Looking through the list, going up to 84. BFG is number 37. I don't know how the hell Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is number 41. That film was horrible with Johnny Depp, and it's directed by Tim Burton. It was horrible. Matilda is number 42, and I think Matilda is better than Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like it got 83% Charlie and the Chocolate Factory certified fresh tone from critics, and it was 51% from the fans. So we knew who was right on that one. Looking through the list some more here to see Tale of Tales in 2015 was number 47. We got Pirates of the Caribbean, number 48. Jumanji cracks the list twice. It comes in at number 50. The sequel comes in at 50, and the one with The Rock comes in at 34. These are both with The Rock. I thought the original was better than those films. That's just me. Stardust with Robert De Niro comes in at 53. I don't even know what that movie's about. Do you?
I've never seen that one.
It's like Captain Stardust or something like that. Dragon Slayer comes in at 54. The Chronicles of Narnia comes in at 56. Excalibur, I remember that film. That movie's hilariously bad. Comes in at 57. Where the Wild Things Are, I thought it would be higher. It comes in at 58. The Never Ending Story is at 60. And Big Fish is at 61. Then if you're going up, I
would have put Wild Things at number 2 at least. Oh, yeah, you said Where the Wild Things Are. I thought you meant just Wild Things.
Yeah, I know why you put that number 2.
That's a fantasy. That's my pick. No, I'm just
Labyrinth is at number 70. Then you got The Hobbit again at 74. Unexpected Journey. Highlander's at 76. It's got 69. Okay. How the hell does Highlander have a lower rating than Charlie at the Chocolate Factory? And then Clash of the Titans got a lower rating than that. It's at number 78. And then you got Lady Hawk and the Forbidden Kingdom at number 81. Solomon Kane's at 83. And number 84 is The Fall at 64%. This ranking is screwy to me. I don't agree with the top 10, except the films that we chose, and Wizard of Oz, which I think is probably one of the best fantasy films of all time. But Wizard of Oz 2 is not even on here, Tone. What's up with that?
I don't know.
The Return to Oz. The sequel's better than the original, in my opinion. But I don't know, man. These lists are kind of wacky. I'm gonna start just doing. And you know what? They have number 21, The Seventh Seal, which is probably one of the greatest like fantasy films, foreign films with Max von Sydow. If you don't know what that film is about, if you ever see you ever seen Last Action Hero and you see the death come through the screen, that's from The Seventh Seal. It's probably most recognizable with the guy who plays Death in chess. It's if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's got a lot of emotional and backstory to it. It's a compelling tale. But how that's number 21 and Harry Potter beats it out, I don't know, man. What's going on with these ratings? The Princess Bride's good though. But I wanted to just throw that in there as a little tidbit to wrapping up our fantasy films. Are there any films that we missed that we haven't talked about? Willow, I know, was one of Adam's favorite films. We didn't talk about that one. I love Willow. I kind of stood away from picking the more recognizable ones that have come. I want to go with the films that I love. And Willow's on there, just not in my top 5. Not saying these are my top 5 fantasy films, it's just some of my favorites. But Willow was on my list before, and then I took it off. Any films that you want to throw in here, Tone, before you actually took off?
No, Reign of Fire was really the only one that I was really thinking that everything else we pretty much covered.
Cool. Yeah, Willow was one of the films that I wanted to throw in there, but I'm like, I'm gonna take that off. And believe it or not, Return to Oz was actually thought about too, but I talked enough about that film. But that is our episode. Well, not our episode, but that's our talk about the fantasy films. Let us know if we had a film that you did not want, that you wanted to see but didn't see or hear about. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. But Tone, before we get to the Sugar Baggy Soundtrack Pick of the Week, tell everybody what's going on at the Hookup, my friend.
We just dropped an episode the other day. Some really good stuff. We talked about the Dead Kennedys, the Dead Milkmen. We covered the new Garbage album. We talked about sometimes set lists. Sometimes people aren't happy with them. That was a very good show. So go back and check that out. Look for the new show this weekend, this upcoming week. More new albums coming out by a band called Turnstile. Really good stuff. Also coming out this past week, we went through Dr. No from James Bond. This next week or coming up, we shall be talking about From Russia with Love, the second James Bond movie. So be looking
From Paris with Love?
From Paris with Love, yes. From Russia with Love. And also check out the article for the Hookup on Music that has been posted on sadisticpenguinstudios.com. We're going to start going into the back half of albums. We're going to try to do that once a week. The first one was Nirvana Unplugged in New York, so look out for those two.
Awesome. Great blog. On my end, I'm working on my list for the 31 Days of Horror, which I'm curating right now and mapping out schedule for shooting those. So those will be coming out soon. It's June, but those take a lot of work, and I don't want to burn myself out in October. So I'll be starting to go through those. I have a list of films for the martial arts gems, which I am going to start getting to once work slows down a little bit, as well as I have some things in the hopper that with some possible spinoffs with fellow members of the Penguins that I'm going to be going forward with. And I will be appearing along with King and Queen Ass on the It's Getting Drafty in here on Sunday on YouTube at 6:00. We will be doing the 2005 movie draft. So I will be with Royalty that day, Tone. So talk about being fantasy. Looking forward to doing that. So if you're not at the game and you want to come check us out, we will be here to do a Getting Drafty episode as he makes his triumphant return to the YouTubes. Be sure to check out our website, sadisticpenguinstudios.com, for all the blogs, podcasts, and stuff coming through there. We got some really, really cool stuff coming. We got articles from people who have written a little bit coming that are some great ideas. Our new writers are pumping out stuff. Cotton says he's got something in the works for another article. Adam's got some stuff that's going to come through. Lots of good stuff. We will have probably our regular segments coming back soon. I know I've been itching to get Mailman Jack back on. I just haven't had time to schedule him because mostly due to my fault with work. And I don't want to reach out to him too late. Although we talk to Mailman Jack like almost every day. But before we go into the Sugar Baggy Soundtrack Pick of the Week, just want to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much for reading, watching, all the support. It really, really means a lot. We wouldn't be doing this without you, and we love to do this as a fun hobby. And we really appreciate that you guys enjoy our stuff too. Listening to me ramble on and Tony ramble on and us argue about Scarface. But with that, Tone, let's close this episode out with the Sugar Baggy Soundtrack Pick of the Week, my friend.
The Sugar Baggy Soundtrack Pick of the Week.
Obscurity is where we find ourselves on tonight's soundtrack pick of the week. It is the Chairman of the Board soundtrack. And you may say to yourself, how did you come across this one, Tone? Honestly, I saw someone post it this week, and then I started going through it, and actually it's kind of a cool little soundtrack with some pretty much, it's all a lot of like surfing tunes, covers. You got the Ramones doing California Sun, a really awesome cover there. You have Sprung Monkey, if you forgot about those guys from the 90s, they do Good Times. You got the Scofflaws doing Ska a la carte. I know Mailman Jack's a big fan of the ska out there. There's a lot of ska on this album. Hillbilly Soul Surfers. I know when's the last time you listened to those guys, Yumper. They've got Scratching and Twisting on this one. Penny, Gary Hoey, who was an amazing guitar player, does a lot of surf type stuff. He does Shark Attack. like stated, it's a very interesting soundtrack that because chairman of the board, as you can see on the front cover there, he's on a surfboard. Surfing does play in the background of this film, but definitely as going as a deeper soundtrack on a movie that I'm sure you're never going to watch. Definitely a little interesting pick here tonight.
This was Carrot Top's big break into the film scene and made a whopping $300,000 at the box office on a $7 million budget. I remember when this film came out, I was like, I remember a Carrot Top from all this, like the Tonight Show, the David Letterman show, how he came out with his props, and it always cracked me up. But I mean, I don't know if his act can be a sustained film, as a character in film. I mean, they try in this film and they just bombed. It's not the worst, but it's not the greatest either. It's got Little Richard in it, which always cracked me up too. He plays like a small role in it. But the soundtrack, you are right, Tone. In terms of the Hillbilly Soul Surfers, they have 2 tracks on this album that I'm looking at, and I probably never listened to them ever again after that. But the Ramones, I do love the Ramones. This soundtrack is pretty decent though. I do actually like the music in it. It's mostly like surf based or like kind of like a California groovy bass stuff, but it's enjoyable. The film, is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Carrot Top is unfortunately never really made another movie again. What's his name's lucky though, because movie's just as bad as this movie is and flopped. It didn't. I looked up the numbers. It made a couple million, but still flop bad was The Pest.
I love that film.
The movie's awful, man.
It is, but I love it.
But that's what I mean, though. Like you talk more bad about Mission Impossible 2, but you went, man, I love that movie, and that movie is not. And if you love that movie, then you should love Chairman of the Board because they're like right around the same type of stuff. Yeah, they're just stupid, man.
They are very stupid, but
I mean, like for a guy like myself, like I like Rodney Dangerfield. Now that's somebody who's literally using wit and humor to
the fourth tenor.
So, like Chairman of the Board,
the fourth tenor.
Are you talking about the movie when he was like almost dead?
Yeah. He was also in like My Five Wives, wasn't he?
Well, then I'll bring up Tu Wong Fu. You know what I mean? John Leguizamo and that.
Oh, that movie's horrible.
Obscure a bit the movies where he's not known for, just to hammer home a point. No, but the point is that both were bad, and the soundtrack was good for this.
Yes, bro. The Pest though had Aries Spears in it and Freddie Rodriguez. Chairman of the board had Raquel Welch and Courtney Thorne Smith.
I'll take them two over who you just mentioned.
There were beautiful women, and I also had the guy who played.
The Pest has known. You know what? We're not gonna get into.
Oh, I know.
Jeffrey Jones.
He's a bad guy, so he plays a real character as a bad guy. And then you have Himmel, his son. A movie. No, don't get me wrong. It's kind of funny you say that because Zoe, friend of the show, Matt Zawalski, Southside Zoe, he hates The Pest. He always tells me how much he hates it, and I don't know. Me and my brother just love it.
Hold on a minute, I got a problem here with The Pest. John Leguizamo's Colombian, but in The Pest he's playing Puerto Rican. I can't have. No, we can't have this. Remember in the show, we can't. Scarface. No,
but John Leguizamo speaks Spanish. He speaks more Spanish in The Pest than Tony Montana.
You just got something against Pacino. That's what it is.
Oh no, I don't have anything with Pacino. The movie's just bad.
I'm just kidding.
Don't get me wrong, John Leguizamo's. Have you talking about John Leguizamo? Have you seen?
I love John Leguizamo.
Have you seen his one-man show?
Because I actually love him. I hate Carrot Top. What are you gonna say?
You hate Carrot Top?
I hate Carrot Top because as a comedian, he's like a low bottom barrel type of humor. Like he picks up a water bottle and he just starts talking. Like it's not.
Who's funnier, Carrot Top or Joe Rogan?
Carrot Top. And I'll even go further and say Dennis Quaid's funnier as Ronald Reagan than
that. That'd be funny if we just had a podcast of us just talking about comedy film, like comedians. I always thought Carrot Top. He's a prop comedy. He's a makes fun of. It's his thing. He's prop comedy. Joe Rogan tries
Yeah,
to
but
do
like
the.
name me 3 amazing prop comics.
Oh, there isn't any because
I mean Gallagher when he smashed.
Charlie Chaplin.
Well, yeah, I mean, but he actually had some really.
Would you consider the Three Stooges prop comedy? I guess they would be the
yeah,
Marx
but those
Brothers.
guys are. I mean,
Harpo Marx.
I'm talking since 1980 till now.
Well, when did
Jeff
Gallagher?
Dunham? I mean, you want to go see Jeff Dunham?
No, I don't. When did Gallagher stop? When did Gallagher stop smashing the pumpkin? Stop smashing the.
He was about it. That was about, and that was
his
that
brother
was about,
Gallagher too.
Yeah, until he had like the twin out there, and it got really weird.
Yes, it was his brother stealing his gig.
I know. Well,
yeah.
But for me, okay, you're talking to someone who was like very young watching HBO. I got confused because I didn't know who was, because then one was really bald, like all bald, and then the other one had the hair, but the props kept getting smashed. Yeah. Why wasn't he ever in some movies? He should have been an actor.
Oh man.
He should have been a chairman of the board, damn it. That would have been awesome.
It would have been better. But speaking of John Leguizamo, have you seen his one-man show Freak?
Yeah. What was the one no, I don't think I saw that one. I saw the one he did in the 90s. I used to watch it.
That's the one, Freak. He did
Yeah.
Freak. Well, he did
Yeah,
two. He did Freak and he did Sexaholic.
I think the first one, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was directed by by Spike Lee.
I've always been a fan of his, maybe I gotta watch honestly, Chairman of the Board, The Pest. I haven't seen these movies or even touched them since they came out. So maybe rewatching The Pest again would do me some good, because I love Leguizamo. Like I am a huge
To be honest with you,
fan.
in all reality, they're both bad movies, but The Pest is safe because Ari Spears is actually pretty funny in the film. And the character that plays him, he's Eduardo, I forget his last name. He's an Italian fellow. He was also in The Sopranos. And he's also in Romeo Must Die. He is hilarious. Yeah, Eduardo Ballarini. He plays Himmel Schenk. He's pretty funny in there as well. But I don't know. The Pest is just a film that me and my brother always liked. So I love it. Yeah, but Chairman of the Board, it's not that good. I just love the fact that you hate Carrot Top. What do you think about Carrot Top now? I mean, he's buff and he had really bad plastic surgery.
Again, it's just like there isn't like a stand-up special where that people like talk about. You know what I mean? There's just like there's nothing.
Doesn't he have a show in? He has a show in Vegas, right?
We have a show. We could be in Vegas. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but we're not getting paid the money to Harris.
Yeah. Though, but like to be fair, we're a little bit closer to Carrot Top than you might even believe. So, we may be passing them by the episode 100. Just
wait. So,
I'm gonna have him on here too. Well, wait till I get him on.
I'm looking at Carrot Top's filmography here. His next film after this film was Dennis the Menace Strikes Again, where he played Sylvester in a direct-to-video. His next film after that was Pauly Shore is Dead, in a mockumentary. He played himself. Carrot Top Rocks Las Vegas, and Now That's Funny. Now he played himself. He played Tugger, the Jeep 4x4 who wanted to fly. He played Shorty. The Aristocrats, which is a documentary, actually pretty hilarious. He's in there as himself. Shortcut to Happiness, The Bros, Smiley Face, The Hangover, he's in as an uncredited cameo. Last Call, he plays a mailman. In 2014, he plays himself in Swear Net.
All right. I'm gonna have nightmares now. You reading off the Carrot Top's filmography here.
Yeah, he hasn't done any big film.
Okay.
I always did find him hilarious when one of his things I did find funny is back in the day how taxi cab drivers used to have those like rollers for their back because they would be sitting all day. He did put a toilet seat with one of those on the back of that thing. I thought that was pretty funny because I mean we do sit on the toilet seat for a long time. But besides that, yeah, it just makes me laugh that you don't like Carrot Top. I want to know what Sam Reeves thinks about Carrot Top.
I actually like Dennis Quaid. I really don't like Carrot Top.
Oh man. So if you love Carrot Top, write Tony at the Sugar
Please
Baggy.
write to me. Give
At
me
the
the like.
Chelsea.
I could change
At the
my
Chelsea.
mind.
But that's our show. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and viewing. We will be back next week. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
Hey, Frank.